Good afternoon.
Mayor Lawson is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Anderson?
Here.
Council members Abbott?
Here.
Vanderwell is absent. Bybee? Here. Rodriguez?
Here.
City Attorney Duncan? Here. Assistant City Manager McCormick? Here. We do have a quorum. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll move into item 3.1, the invocation by Pastor Barb West of Sparks Church of the Nazarene.
Thank you, Paul. Would y'all join me in prayer? Father in heaven, we just thank you for this fine council. We thank you that Councilman Paul Anderson could fill in today. Pray that you would be with Mayor Lawson down in Henderson and keep him safe. In fact, Lord, we pray that you would keep all of us safe, including our school children. Bless the teachers that have them in class. And Lord, we pray a blessing over our police officers, over our firefighters, and particularly over this fine council. We pray that you would give them your wisdom as they conduct the business of our beloved city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Barb. And Ms. McCormick, since we don't see you up here too often, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I'd be glad to. Please join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4.1, public comment, and we do have a couple up here. First one is Jim Kindness.
Mayor, members of the City Council, Jim Kindness, resident of Wingfield Springs and Sparks. I'm here again to ask you to reconsider closing down Fire Station number 5. Station 6 has been in the planning stages for about 10 years now. The Sparks Fire Department's strategic plan, which you all approved since your names are attached to it, states to complete the construction of Fire Station number 6 and to staff and operate with 9 personnel upon completion. The benefits listed are to improve standards of cover, increase workforce, increase structure of fire response capabilities, and increase public safety through a reduction in response times. Nowhere in that report does it mention shutting down Fire Station 5, and to the contrary, goes against this plan as it's going to increase response times to Golden Eagle and the residents in Wingfield and surrounding areas. Station 5 was built in 2005 when the city had a population of 82,513. It's been 20 years since a new fire station was built to serve our growing community. The population has grown to about 109,000 residents and over 37 square miles. That's a 32% increase in population itself. Population increases the need for services and increases the call volume for the fire department. In 2005, call volume was 7,241, while today it's over 17,000. That's a 135% increase in calls since Station 5 opened in 2005. The suppression staff, which handles emergencies, fires, EMS, hazmat, water and tech rescues, has less personnel now than it had in 2005. Let that sink in, 135% increase in call volume and operating with less personnel. You have not invested in the fire department staffing for emergencies in 20 years. The report states, and I quote, "In an emergency, speed and effort are at the heart of a successful outcome. If intervention is not quick and sufficient, medical events can lead to permanent injury or death, and fires will continue to grow and spread. In a building fire, a small incipient fire can double in size every minute, involving an entire room in 8 to 10 minutes. For emergency medical incidents and surviving a sudden cardiac arrest, the chance of success is reduced 7 to 10% each minute. How are you okay with putting your residents at risk? Time is critical for both fires and EMS. Your responses to your constituents doesn't paint the whole picture. You mentioned Station 5 only accounts for 10% of the fire department's call volume. That's still 2,000 calls and doesn't include the calls Truckee Meadows Fire handles. If you were the resident that was in need of any of those calls, you would say it was very important to have an efficient response from the fire department. A lady by the name of Bella commented on the Nextdoor app, and I quote, "A few months ago, I would have died if the station wasn't there. Good thing for Bella and her family, Station 5 was still open." You mentioned your fiscal constraints. At the last council meeting, you approved $1.46 million to replace turf on 3 fields at Golden Eagle. I walked each of those fields and found no reason why they needed to be replaced. They could each go another 5 years. I challenge all of you to walk those fields and come back and say that's more important than keeping your residents safe. You can't provide for the public safety at the park. You need to change the priority on that money. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Hope you'll do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Kindness. Next is Christine Johnson.
Hello. Thanks for listening to me today. I'm Christine Johnson, formerly the executive director of the Sparks Heritage Museum, but currently a board member there. And I would like to just revisit the comments that I made back in April 2024 on behalf of the museum, where we deal daily with historic preservation and the keeper of the history of this fine city. I wanted to make sure that I did submit online all of the documents that we presented back last year with regard to the preservation of the house on at the address of 306 10th Street in Sparks. And this is a site that is up for consideration for development, I understand. And we remain at the Sparks Museum completely committed to the preservation of that property. That little building is near and dear to the history of Sparks. And just some thoughts on that is that its architectural character and historical context offer both educational and cultural value to the current and future residents in the space. And by retaining and repurposing the structure within any housing project that commences on that site, can model an inclusive approach to urban renewal and one that honors the city's past while addressing present-day needs for accessible and affordable housing. I understand that you have several options to consider for the choice on moving forward with the project on that space. And so separate and apart from the museum's perspective, I just wanted to say something from a personal perspective. I've worked with the Northern Nevada Community Housing Project more than 3 times on different projects and put my own time and energy into working with providing guidance and historical information and perspective on some of the interior components, which include history and like connecting the residents with the history and the larger idea of what's going on in the space. And they have worked so hard to include the history of Nevada, Sparks, Reno, wherever they're working, and to connect the people with their space, which is highly, in my personal opinion, important when people are in a position to reconnect with a new community, to learn something about their space. And this organization is just over an abundance of care and caution to getting things perfect with regard to what is put forward in their housing projects. And I'm impressed with them. That's my personal opinion, but the museum wants to one last time reiterate how important that the point is to keep the space at 306 10th Street for the city of Sparks and the history. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Christine. Next, we have Tom Dunn. And Tom, I have 2 for you. Did you want to save one for the end? The public comment at the end?
Yeah, I'll have one at the end too. So, good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. For the record, my name's Tom Dunn. I'm one of the vice presidents of the Reno Firefighters Association, Local 731. Today, we're here to support items 9.3 and 10.1. So one of them will have public comment later, one won't. I also like to recognize that today, October 28th, is National First Responder Day. First Responder Day was designated first by Congress in 2017. And to the first responders in the room, also watching on camera, and the first responders that provide services to our community, including REMSA, thank you for your service to our community and everything you do on behalf of our community. The last thing I'd like to comment on today is the passing of retired firefighter Jana Moss. Jana Moss was a 20-year firefighter for the city of Reno, but she was also a Sparks resident at the time of her passing. She was a shining light in our community. She took care and was one of the principal coordinators of our Sam Sabini Christmas Food Basket Project. She was also a principal coordinator in the downtown Reno Children's Christmas Party that gave gifts and had a visit with Santa and food for their families every year at Christmas. And so she was a shining light in this community, and she will be sadly missed by those that worked with her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And those are all the ones that I have. If you wish to make public comment, now's your time. If you would just fill out one of the forms. And since we're not showing any other public comment, we'll move on to item number 5.1, approval of the agenda. Mr. Abbott?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Rodriguez? Second. Okay, we have a motion made by Member Abbott and a second by Member Rodriguez. All those in favor, oh, that's right, never mind. Please vote. All right.
Another meeting.
Passes unanimously with those present. Yeah, another meeting. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 6.1, consideration possible approval of minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for October 13th, 2025. Member Rodriguez?
Move to approve the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for October 13th, 2025.
Member Bybee?
I will second that motion.
All right, thank you. We have a motion made by Rodriguez, a second by Bybee. Please vote. And passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 7.1, and imagine you want to do 7.2 at the same time?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay.
The Sparks Civil Service Commission has one vacancy for a partial term ending June 30th, 2026. Commissioners must be Sparks residents and cannot be a city employee or related to one within the 3rd degree of consanguinity. Applications for this vacancy will be accepted until 5 p.m. on October 30th, 2025. There's also one vacancy on the Sparks Planning Commission for a 4-year term ending December 31st, 2029. Planning commissioners must be Sparks residents and registered voters. Applications for this vacancy will be accepted until November 21st, 2025 at 5 p.m. Those interested in serving on any of these committees should complete a community service application online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us/getinvolved. Simply complete the volunteer application form and hit submit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Move on to item 7.3, presentation from the Regional Transportation Commission.
Okay.
So, good afternoon.
What do you want first?
When you get ready to get started, if you'll just state your name for the record, please.
Get ready to play it, let me know.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I'm Bill Thomas. I'm the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. I also brought with me today Dale Keller. Dale is the Deputy Executive Director and also the Director of Engineering. And should the council have detailed questions, Dale fortunately is going to be able to answer them. His knowledge of our project is very deep. So I have a presentation today, and I appreciate you giving me the time to present this to you, really just to update you on what we've done in the past year at RTC. And I've got a very brief video I wanted to start with, which specifically targets or focuses on improvements in the city of Sparks in the past year. Slight technical difficulties.
Yeah, it looks like somebody turned the sound down, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Shouldn't need to do that.
I gotta blow their ears out.
Make sure you have the enabled editing on.
Oh, okay.
That's probably a
try this again. Well, fortunately, you won't have to hear me sing or do anything, but hopefully it's self-explanatory. And as I said, we want to run through some of the projects and are glad to answer questions after we're done. Okay, so I've got a little slide deck here to talk about specifically some issues that we're dealing with that I think the council is going to be interested in. And of course, when I'm done, if there's anything that the council feels like they'd like to know more about, we're glad to share that with you. So I want to start, which I always do, just to remind people of what the Regional Transportation Commission is. We're actually, I was just checking, I think we're 2 years newer than the Airport Authority, but one of the older regional boards that exists in our community. As you can see, we started in 1979. The board, which of course Mayor Lawson sits as your representative, functions, I'm glad to say and proud to say, very much as a regional board. So the decisions that are made by the RTC board really do focus on what's best for the people in the community in terms of transportation. Knowing full well that with our average trip of about 6 miles, most people's trips go between jurisdictions. It's not that often people stay within one jurisdiction as they're traveling around. So the reason for having well planned and coordinated transportation network. So 3 things that we provide, and I like to say at RTC, we're not a fourth local government. We actually are an agent of you, City of Reno, and Washoe County. And we provide 3 very important but distinct services to the 3 local governments. First, the metropolitan planning function, which is a federal construct, and the best way to explain it is without this, we don't get federal money. So our role as the MPO is to make sure that we have the whole transportation network regionally planned for, and we have a process for prioritizing where we invest money and make sure that the transportation network continues to function the way that our community not only wants it, but deserves to have it done. In addition, we do the design and the construction oversight and maintenance of the regional road network. And so that means that we hire the consultants that design the roads, we oversee those consultants, and we hire the contractors who actually build the roads. I also would point out that as we do this in each jurisdiction, we work very closely with your staff. So any projects that would happen in the city of Sparks, we don't do without heavy consultation with the staff from the city of Sparks. I would also point out when you stop to think about this, that we don't own anything. Everything we do is owned by a jurisdiction. So we're your agents to come in and do these improvements and improve your transportation system. But at the end of the day, we hand it back over to you as the city to own and maintain the improvements that we do. And then lastly, and every bit as important as the other two functions, is the public transportation rule. We are the Federal Transit Administration's designated agency for the application and operation of the public transit network. A significant portion of that funding comes from the federal government, but we also have a local sales tax that the people of this community have dedicated to the public transportation network. I wanted to share this slide because I know as council members, you will often hear from constituents about when and where and how quick are things going to happen that are associated with roadways. Because of the complexity and the nature of the way we make decisions, it can take time. And there's really no way around that when you're talking about investing in the lightest cases, maybe $3 to $5 million, and at the highest end, up to $100 million. So we want to make sure, and we're actually required because of the federal process, to make sure we do an excellent job of prioritizing and identifying the purpose and need of projects before we get started. So I'm sharing with you the 4 touch points, if you will, that go into decision-making of our projects. The first one, which is a federal mandate, but also one that's just wise, is we do a 20-year plan. And any projects we do have to be in that plan. So that's the starting point for anything RTC does in terms of capital facilities. That plan is updated every 4 to 5 years. We just recently updated it. And just like I said earlier, in terms of engagement with your staff, we have a very deep and engaged effort when we talk to your staff about what the needs are. And those conversations, we hope, reflect your needs and desires as a city council. The second step is a 5-year outlook, which we call a Regional Transportation Improvement Program. And again, this is also a federal requirement before we can spend money. We have to have a 5-year plan. And I think in your world, it's probably comparable to the capital improvement plan. So these are projects that we're pretty sure are going to happen, but we haven't quite defined how much they're going to cost or what year they're going to happen. We lay those out, we estimate. You may see these like when you're looking at a particular road in one of your wards, but just know in that 5-year plan, it's not necessarily a guarantee. It's probably a real high likelihood it's going to happen, but as we refine these projects, often we'll find things that require us to delay them. It could be that we find some utility or some improvement that adds significant cost, so we have to find the funding, or it could be just acquiring property, because that's a very complex and timely process. And I know all of you would want us to do it right, and we do when we go into condemnation, which is very rare, but it is something we need to do in many cases with our bigger project. And then lastly, this orange bubble here, the interlocal cooperative agreements, those are the ones where we cannot do our project unless the local government approves it. So in every case, we would be coming to the city of Sparks for an interlocal cooperative agreement. And it really does 2 things. One, it allows us to do the work on your streets. And secondarily, it authorizes us to become your agents for condemnation should it be needed. And I would just caution it and let you know we're very careful on how we use the condemnation process. Often it's needed just because it takes forever to work through people and through organizations to get the right of way. And so in order to keep these projects moving forward, we have that tool, which we use sparingly. And then lastly, just like for the city of Sparks, we have an annual capital operating budget. So that is the point where we actually have the money in hand and we know it's going to be spent, and we go to the RTC board for their authorization to go spend the money. We recently completed 2 studies I wanted to talk to you about today. The first one is a maintenance study. And this study, like all things we do, included cooperation with your staff, the staff from the city of Reno, and the staff from Washoe County. And the goal of the study really was to find out what is the need for maintenance. And we talk about maintenance of roadways, it's the whole picture. It's not just the asphalt, it's not just the potholing, but it's also the street sweeping, the snow plowing, signs, painting, striping, you name it. If it has anything to do with the road, we looked at this. And we looked at it holistically, as I said. We hired a consultant that assessed all this information or brought it together, and we prepared a report which has been presented to all the local governments. The conclusion, not probably surprising to you, is that the combined resources of the region, that includes not only RTC, but the 3 local governments, are not sufficient to meet the regional needs. What we did find also is that there are limited additional resources. All the jurisdictions put in more than just their fuel tax, because each of you get an increment of fuel tax, just like RTC does. All that money is applied to roads, and individually, each jurisdiction has a little bit different way of adding additional money into the road maintenance and construction process. So that was identified and quantified and is in that report. And then lastly, just to report kind of the magnitude of the issue, what we found is over the next 10 years, there's about $1.4 billion of maintenance that exceeds the money available to get it done. So the findings and the recommendations, like I just said there, the first one was there's insufficient funding to do everything we need or want to do as far as the roadway network. The backlogs will continue to grow, and ultimately what it will result if we can't find additional resources is a network that declines. And with those realities, we looked at a couple of options, which I would say right now we're still in the very early stages. This really was the explanation of what the problem is. This wasn't intended to be the solution to the problem, but before you head into any public policy or problem solving, you gotta really get your hands around what's the magnitude of the problem and what are the efforts that are going on right now. I would say probably the most important thing, and you deal with this all the time as council, you have to prioritize. We don't have the resources to do everything, so we've got to make some tough choices. I think I'll talk a little bit about one of the tools or new strategies, intelligent transportation system, which allows us to get a little more out of our system without spending nearly the amount of money we would to rebuild everything. And I want to go now into a second study we did, which is the Gwin study. You may have heard a little bit about this. Again, I think we shared it with all your staffs, and hopefully you got a chance to see it. If you didn't, I'm more than glad to send a copy to you. So we approached the Gwin Center, which is a nonpartisan think tank, if you will, basically a policy analyst. They really focus on the legislature and doing studies to help the legislature decide what the best public policy steps are in terms of any particular issue. And the reason we approached them was to look at the revenue options for transportation infrastructure. That's the result of electric vehicles not paying fuel tax, and then hybrid vehicles paying much, much less than a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle would. So some little bit of information to paint the picture for you. This is a chart, the first one, the one on the left here, shows the adoption and growth of both the electric vehicle fleet, but also the hydrogen electric vehicles. And you can see here that going back to 2020, it's been consistently increasing. Now, on the scale of the whole vehicle fleet, it's still, those two combined is about 5.5% of the total fleet. But over the next 5 years, I think it's projected from NDOT to be up to 24%. So you can see that, we're at a point now where it's not so significant that it's devastating to us, but as the trend continues to move, not only to electric vehicles, but also to much more fuel-efficient vehicles, we end up in the situation, which is the right chart. And the right chart tells us the amount of taxable gallons sold. And when you look at this chart, you can see that it peaked shortly before the pandemic. It dropped, obviously, in the pandemic, where a lot of people didn't go to work anymore. And then it started climbing, but it's starting to drop again. And when you look at this chart, two important things to remember. One is, you all know the population's been growing, so there's more people here each year. The second thing is that people are actually driving more. So it's not like people are not consuming fuel because they're driving less. The reason they're consuming less fuel is because they're much more efficient vehicles. So why is this a problem? The answer is because our road maintenance and our road construction is funded by fuel tax. The sales tax I mentioned earlier, only a small portion of that can go to roads. The majority of that money has to go to public transportation. So we have a single funding source, which is the fuel tax, to pay for our needs. So the Gwin Group came up with some policy findings on what can we do about this. And I've listed these two here. The first one, the policy interventions, are things that will require legislative approval. So, the first step is finding out what we need to do. The second one is, of course, convincing the legislature to give somebody, all of us, maybe RTC, somebody the authority to go and make some changes. The second, which I'll talk about these individually, are things that we control. In other words, things that we can do absent legislative approval. So the first one, which is one that a lot of states have done. In fact, we're one of only 9 in the country that doesn't have a vehicle registration fee on electric vehicles or hybrids. So we're lagging in terms of dealing with the issue, I would say, at the state level. That one is probably the simplest to administer and the simplest to implement. And I think that's probably why you see the other 40 states, 41 states have done something. The second one is really kind of the long-term answer, which is moving to a system whereby people pay based on the amount they drive. And that's the vehicle miles travel tax. So in other words, if you don't drive at all, you don't pay tax, much like fuel. If you drive a lot, you pay a lot. The problem with that method, and the reason nobody's fully implemented, is it's very, very complex. And the biggest pushback we found in the literature and talking to other states is because of the privacy issue. People are very reticent to give the government the information on where they drive, how much they drive, and the details that would be necessary for that to be effective. Additionally, the administration of the system would be very expensive. So while now it's fairly simple where the tax is applied at the wholesale level is where we actually collect the tax. Now you're talking about collecting taxes from everybody. So that, let's say by the time we do it, 2.5 million people, you're going to each of those people individually. You're not collecting it like at the aggregate level. So needless to say, that's a very expensive and complex system. Last one is not really the full thing, but a piece of it, which is electric charging station taxes. Some communities do that. The challenge is those, for the most part, aren't designed to collect the kind of data you need to be able to tax. So that would be a very complex, another complex method of collecting the money. But these are the 3 policy interventions that the national level have been kind of taking the spotlight in terms of what we do about that. So the 2 that we have some potential to respond to this issue are the supplemental government service tax. And that actually is a tax that the Board of County Commissioners can impose. It's generally believed that it goes to transportation, but it's not a legal requirement. So that particular tax would generate somewhere in the $20 million range, but clearly it would require the Board of County Commissioners to determine that that's the right answer to come up with some additional money to deal with this issue in terms of particularly the maintenance issue. The second one is we have the ability in Washoe County to increase by 1/8 of 1% our sales tax. However, that is up to the voters. We would have to go to the voters and they would have to approve it. That would generate somewhere in the $15 million a year range. So those are at least on the horizon. Those are the 5 things that were identified in the Gwynn study. Now, lastly, I want to talk about a new thing we're doing. And the way I would explain this is, historically, the way we deal with growth in the transportation network is we would widen roads, or we would put in traffic signals. We would find these physical improvements that would actually add capacity to the road. The intelligent transportation system really is what I would describe, you probably heard, as a smarter management of the system. And by way of example, historically, what would happen is in our community, we would hire consultants that come in every 3 to 5 years to change our signal timing. And of course, after they left and people started changing their patterns and things and grew, the traffic signals weren't keeping up with it. So we'd have to wait for a few more years. This new system is really one about being real time to manage traffic. So if you have a special event or you have peak times, we can change the timing of the flow in the directions that don't focus on the intersection and actually look at the network. And the way I would describe it is we're really trying to get more green time when you're on a major road. So think of McCarran Boulevard, think of Sparks Boulevard, where somebody can have 3, 3.5, maybe 4 green signals as they're progressing through the road. And that requires some very intentional and intelligent managing of the transportation system. So recently, one that I think you're familiar with is we did the Sparks Intelligent Corridor along Pyramid and Sparks Boulevard. That's an example of where we interconnect the signals with fiber. We buy software, we buy hardware, and we have people dedicated to just staying on top of it and keep an eye to kind of get what we can, those incremental improvements that get people through the system quicker and better. So along those lines, one of the things you'll be hearing in the next year is moving forward with the Traffic Management Center. And this is the physical manifestation of this intelligent transportation system. What we do here is we find a physical location. We take together the people who are in the transportation world at NDOT, at RTC, at your local level, and we work together to make sure we're all on top of managing the transportation system consistently and intelligently, if you will. And again, we'll be hearing more about that as we move forward. The RTC board has invested in this. It's something that they very much have bought into as a wise way to get the most bang for our buck in our community. So lastly, I want to close with a couple things just to make you aware of. The first one is we have significant in the past with the IJA. Forgot the acronym right now. Anyway, for up until this year, actually, well, next year, 26, there was significant amount of federal funding that was put into transportation. Those funds have been applied. We've been very aggressive at going after grants, and we've been very successful, but at the federal level, things are changing. And we know that the funding is probably not going to be at the same level it's been for the past 5 years. In addition, the priorities have changed with the new administration. In the past, there was a real strong focus on bicycle and pedestrians. That seems to be moving over to safety, which means as we pursue this federal money, we're going to have to change the nature of the projects we apply for, as well as the approach in terms of going after that money. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. As I mentioned earlier, I think one of the top things you're going to be hearing, and it's actually been discussed in the past 2 legislative sessions, we've been asked as the staff by the RTC board to see what can we do here locally to deal with this issue of the EV fees or tax. And then lastly, as I mentioned to you on ITS, we'll be investing more in that, and you'll hear and see more. And that's probably going to mean some changing relationships. Part of it for you as a city council, in order to deal with transportation on the regional level, it means all the local governments are going to have to give up a little bit of control. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be managing the network based on the movement of people, not necessarily, a finite intersection or a particular group of people who might feel a certain way about an intersection of a road. In order to get to where we need to be, it's got to be this bigger, regional, and more holistic approach. So with that, I will close my comments, and Dale and I are here for any questions you might have.
Great presentation. I was expecting you guys to sing or something during the first one, but.
Not me, Dale maybe.
No, thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Do we have any questions? Yes, Member Bybee.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So when you talked about the planning process, the 20-year, 5-year, all the way down the road, literally down the road, sorry, didn't mean to pun. As you look at how fluid, I would guess you have to be fluid, because I know the last couple of years and the complaints I've had in the last 2 years on road conditions, and trying to remind residents and myself too that we have roads that are, even roads that are newer, like the Southeast Connector, that's a relatively new road, let alone my neighborhood streets and older parts of our city, Reno and Sparks. But we had a couple horrendous winters that just wreaked havoc on our roads. So how do you, and I've asked, our staff, well, we don't have more money allocated, and yet we have to shift where, we're prevented if we can. But when you have something like that does a lot of road damage, how do you adjust both from a funding perspective, but from your planning? And is there additional funding available through the federal government? I know in an emergency there is, but kind of how does that shift? Because you've got this whole plan in place, and then things can totally be turned upside down, like they were with how many roads were badly damaged a couple of years ago.
I'll let Dale go to the details, because I think it is important for the council, as well as any citizens who are listening, how we prioritize and decide how we spend the money. But I would say just an awareness is very rarely, if ever, do you get maintenance money from the federal government. They like to spend their money on capital items. So they may spend one time and then they're gone. So it's really incumbent upon the local community to strategize and figure out how to best manage what they've got. But I'll ask Dale to go through it because we do have a very structured and systematic way of dealing with the issue you raised.
Dale Keller for the record. Councilmember Bybee, that's a great question, a great example that you brought up about the winter that came in and really did some damage to our roadways. So out of that program, we do have some flexibility, and we've done a really good job working with City of Sparks staff through our pavement preservation program as an example, where we can prioritize what roads are needed throughout the community. And it's really data-driven approach to how we make that done. And so we meet as a team through staff engineers, and they go through and each of the roadway that's in most need at that time. And we prioritize that. Now, when we had that case with the winter that came in, we said, and we asked our board, hey, can we reprioritize some of those funding? So if you look in that transportation plan or CIP, as you know, all those funding that's been prioritized has been taken somewhere. And so that's where we're looking for some efficiencies to say, yes, let's go invest a little bit more. And we did so at that time. We saw some really good results that keep those good roads good.
Member Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I guess just, kind of as a new guy, as a freshman here, I guess I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more like what's coming to Sparks, something like that in the presentation. But as you guys are pretty familiar with, especially with the Wingfield area that bumps 3 council members right here going up, it's one accident and Pyramid is bogged down, Vista or Sparks is bogged down. So this smart technology that you're speaking of, does it account for anything like that? Like, if, heavens forbid, there's an accident or a broken pipeline on Sparks Boulevard, and it shuts that down. I mean, you got commercial traffic going up there. You got ER up there. You got a growing community out that way. So I guess, just for the public, can you kind of give a snapshot if that technology helps, or what, or if not, then what other plans are you guys looking for Vista, Sparks? And I know Pyramid is an NDOT jurisdiction, but.
Yeah, we're glad to run through it, but I'll ask Dale, since he's leading that team, exactly how the ITS system works.
So Bill mentioned the Sparks Intelligent Corridor, and that's actually really using real-time data and taking that and making changes to the signal lights. So for example, as you mentioned, there's a crash on Pyramid Highway. We actually made changes in real time on Sparks Boulevard going north and south. So we provide more green time to get that traffic actually moving faster. So if you look at your app on Apple Map or on Google Map, it would actually tell you Sparks, and that's where we allow that traffic to move more efficiently through there. It's not going to be best because we need all those 3 corridors, north-south corridors, on Sparks to be efficient corridors. We need Pyramid, we need Sparks, we need Vista all together working its max capacity, because we all know once one of those go down, we need that reliability. So as we continue to work with Sparks staff, we're trying to find out ways we get that more reliability on a consistent basis. And then maybe directly answer your question, when we come back with a future interlocal cooperative agreement or ICA, I think that's a great thing we can touch base on about here's what we're investing out of that program and show you some examples about, hey, how's this working and does it provide more reliability? And we call it buffer time, because if it knows you're going to take, there might be a crash today, so I have to leave on average 5 minutes early, we can actually show those results, say, hey, now I can leave only 3 minutes. So we can reduce that buffer time and get more reliability out of our network. And that's what we want to invest into with that ITS, or that intelligent transportation systems.
Are we looking to expand that over to the Vista Boulevard side as well?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's been successful and it comes with a cost. And so I think that's where you see it from the RTC board, and I think from the city staff as well, hey, this works. So we want to continue to expand on that technology, and that starts with that traffic management center and get that up and running so we can expand that kind of pilot project that we did. And that won state awards and national awards of how we are approaching it using these type of technologies. So we're in the forefront of it. We're seeing really good results, and we want to continue to invest in that, not only on Sparks and Pyramid, but Vista and actually everywhere else in the Truckee Meadows.
Thank you. Thank you.
Member Abbott.
Well, you just answered my main question of ITS. I appreciate that. And so I think the only thing I have is just a comment on the student rides initiative. That's been definitely a blessing. As someone that always lobbied Mayor Lawson for some of his bus pass allocations for my alma mater. Sparks High School definitely went through a lot of those, and so it made it a lot easier. Just for the logistics from the faculty side of getting those kiddos rides that they truly do depend on that to come to school as well as to work. So just want to thank you guys. There's some positive I know I can pass it on from kiddos I know, as well as the admin over there. So Thank you for doing what you're doing. And I think also with Mr. Rodriguez's comments, I would love to kind of see an update of, I know you guys are working on Sparks Boulevard, and I know some other projects that are going on here in Sparks that you guys are talking about. I'd love to see that at a future meeting too.
Yeah, we're glad to do that. I would say, as you hopefully picked up, Sparks Boulevard is about $72 million. So we've drained our bucket pretty significantly in order to do that project. So it will be hard to come up with money in the near term, at least the next 3 years, probably to do really big projects. But we always have our eyes on the streets of all the regional roads. So it's not going to be the only thing in Sparks, but that'll be the big one for a couple of years. And then we'll go over to Vista. And we're also, which I didn't bring up, dealing with the issue with Story County of I-80, which I don't know how much you hear about, but at least all the data I've seen, a lot of people in Sparks make that commute, and it's something that we're very aware of and our board's very aware of.
All right, thank you. Actually, I did have a question for you. So you were showing the ridership being up. I was just curious, and forgive me if I don't use the right terms, but city fare, the big buses versus city lift,
Right.
the smaller buses, are they both moving in the same direction, or are we seeing a jump in one versus the other?
They're all increasing, which is a good sign. And the big difference between those two, which is probably not common knowledge, is the big buses, the blue buses we call RIDE. Those are really expensive, and they work best when they have a lot of people. You know, we get a lot of criticism when people see the bus with 2 or 3 people in them. What are you doing? Those are often at the end point of a route. If you think of it, a route is point A to point B with a whole bunch of stops. And generally in the middle of that route is where the most people get on and get off. Where the flex ride or the smaller vehicles are really stuck or limited to a geographic area, and they go door to door. So with the flex ride, you can actually get from point A to point B. When you take a fixed route, you have to adjust to the fact that that bus only goes on a certain street at a certain time. And the reason we do that is because the thing we always hear from our customers is they want more and they want it on time. And so those two are a big challenge when you're running a transit system to make sure that you can really hit that desire for as many people as possible. We've seen some great success in the northern part of Sparks with the Flex Ride. We're studying that, and we're watching that to see if at some point there might be enough ridership and predictable demand that we could extend a fixed route system. But we don't do the fixed route until we know there's going to be ridership, because it really is a very expensive and very structured service that's only warranted if there really are going to be people getting on and off the bus.
Awesome, thank you. And just one last comment. I truly appreciate the message and the work you guys are doing on the fuel tax side of things. That's been one of the biggest concerns for me since I've been on council. When you look out into the future, you're like, there is no way this is sustainable. Likewise, and we've had this conversation before on the fuel tax, that if I remember correctly, we're paying about $1 for a gallon tax combined here in Washoe County, where our neighbors are only at 54 cents or so. And as it continues that spread, I don't see that that's sustainable. Burdening the people that are driving the older vehicles that are less likely to be able to afford more tax. And so that sustainability side just is not working. And then obviously when you pull up to a light and you see, 3 or 4 electric vehicles, if not hybrids, next to you, realizing that they're not contributing to the funds and helping to keep the streets up the way they should. So I appreciate you guys. I've been beating on that drum for a while, and I appreciate the work you guys are doing to get there. So
Quick follow-up on the Flex
Yes.
Ride, if I may. Real quick follow-up on the Flex Ride. I know it's only to certain geographic locations, and it doesn't come very far into Sparks and toward 4 and 5 for sure. Are you looking at possible expansion? Because that is an amazing, if you have your, what is the access for people with disabilities, but the Flex Ride is like an Uber, but it's a van, and there could be more people in that. But for everyone out in the rest of Sparks, which is Ward 3, 4, and 5, the fixed route buses aren't there. So there's not transit for everybody in the north end of Sparks. Are you looking at possibility of Flex Ride itself being able to expand that? Because people pay a nominal fee. It's not free, correct? Thank you.
$2. Yeah. $2 a trip or $3 a day.
The short answer is yes. We are right in the throes now of our 5-year short-range transit plan. So we've started a process where we're engaging in the community to find out where the needs are. And we will, anything we do is really based on the evidence of the demand. And I know it could be frustrating for all of you where you might hear from citizenry say that we want this thing, but what we've learned over time is the most effective way to spend the public's dollar is to really make sure before we do big investments that there's the demand there to support it. So the answer is if there's demand out there, then eventually that's what you'll get. You'll get a fixed route bus. But until that demand proves itself out, then we'll probably see expansion of the Flex Ride. As long as people are riding, we will grow the Flex Ride.
And I love the Flex Ride. It's like more affordable.
People like it better because it gives them more control. The challenge with the fixed routes is you have to come to it, right? Regardless of where you live or where you want to go, we only run that bus down 1 or 2 roads in a certain direction at a certain amount of time, so you have to adapt. Or Flex Ride, you can call and say, hey, I want to ride from here to there at this time. So it is closer to Uber, like you said. You're welcome.
Bill, Dale, thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Abbott.
I got one, since we're on the RTC on Flex Ride. So one thing I guess providing feedback on that as someone that does Flex Ride here and there. I just looked it up right now. I wanted to Flex Ride out to, I think it's Cascades of Sierra. It's a 21 to 51 minute trip. That's great. Do you think there will ever be an opportunity to, like, when I think of my Uber, I can schedule a pickup in a ballpark range. And so, like, I know that would be helpful, I think, at times. It's a great service if you're not really stressed on time. Do you think that'll ever be a thing, or is that just why I need to use Uber and not Flex Ride?
Well, as a result of the pandemic, one of the things we really expanded was the use of Uber and Lyft and taxis to fill in that gap there where we struggle between the fixed route buses and the Flex Ride. So I guess my answer would be possibly. And the reason I say that is because, all of these things, which you are very familiar with, there's only a certain amount of tax money. And that does not vary based on demand. It varies based on consumption. If people are buying things, big expensive things, then we have money to provide public transportation. If there's a blip or a slowdown or people aren't spending money, then we don't have the money to do it. So fortunately, our community has been in a great place in terms of the fuel tax that supports public transportation. But at the end of the day, we want to grow ridership. And that's our goal. That's our purpose in transit. If people don't ride, then we're not doing something right. But wherever the ridership is and where we can make it make sense, we'll be there.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then if I can just add on, Charlene, your question about, I guess, expansion. Just looking at the map right now, it does look like it's mostly 3, 5, part of 5, like Wingfield. It's not, but then, or I'm so sorry, 4. 4 except for Wingfield, and then most of 5 is included. So actually 1 and 2 is not so much. You guys do have your little, I call them hot spots, like City Hall is a spot where we can go to. Just saying, there's definitely a lot of great use, and I could probably use it more as well as many others. I do appreciate you guys just getting the word out, having some of those public meetings about it, and taking feedback from people. That was really, really nice to see, as well as I know you're gaining feedback of the ridership. We can always say up here what we think is great, but actually getting input from people, and not saying none of us are using it, but people that are actually using it on the daily to get to and from work. Those are the ones that we really need to hear from, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to them. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, move on to item 7.4, presentation by Remsa Health.
We weren't provided a PowerPoint. Either they're not saying that screen.
And if you would state your name for the record, please.
Certainly. My name is Barry Duplantis. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of REMSA Health. And today I'd like to provide you with a community update of our community ambulance service. Just to kind of level set, REMSA was formed in almost 40 years ago. It'll be 40 years in 2026. REMSA was formed through an interlocal agreement, which delegated responsibility to the District Board of Health to oversee ambulance operation in the community as a region. REMSA was established as an exclusive provider given the District Board of Health governance over rates, essentially, and the fact that the work that REMSA does essentially eliminates the need for multiple ambulance providers with different companies racing to the scene of an accident, for example, which would then put the public at more risk. REMSA was started as and remains a private, not-for-profit, 501c3 organization that is owned by the community. An important point I want to emphasize, owned by the community. We have no shareholders, so all of the money that REMSA generates gets spent right here in the community on the wages of our employees, the equipment we replace. We have no outside stakeholders. So we are the community. It's your organization. It's your company. You own it. We also serve as the region's safety net provider of pre-hospital care, and we have done so, as I said, now for almost 40 years. We've built an outstanding trust and reputation of always being ready. We are governed by a 7-member board of directors, which is inclusive of the 3 hospital systems. And I'd be remiss if I didn't indicate the support of our board. Our board is very involved. It's a volunteer board, but very involved and very engaged in all of the activities that we do. And in fact, I'd like to just acknowledge Ms. Shirley Falcons-Roberts, who's here with us today, who wanted to join us for our presentation to you. As we serve the community's needs, REMSA provides all callers who call 911 with care regardless of ability to pay. In fact, as we kind of look at some of the things that we see in our society today, I think the burden on our EMS system is going to continue to grow as people fall off of health plans, and essentially just simply looking for somebody to help them. So I do anticipate that the number of 911 callers will continue to grow. It has been growing for the last several years, in part because our population is growing, but also too, in part that we've done a really good job of teaching people to call 911. Our dispatch center is staffed with EMT-trained clinicians who answer the calls. So the one thing I wanted to emphasize to this body and to the community at large is that when a call rings and the person says, I've got a medical emergency, the call is directed to REMSA's dispatch center, where the calls are addressed by people who are trained with EMT skills. For that reason, care begins at the time that we receive the call, not when the ambulance arrives. That's kind of like a continuation of the care that we provide. So if someone's having a heart attack, we start chest compressions right there on the telephone, where you will hear in our dispatch center things like, ma'am, sir, I need you to make sure the patient is laying down flat and has clear breathing pathway, and you're going to help me with chest compressions. Here's how we're going to do it, and you need to count with me. So you will hear things just that explicit. Now, that's an unfortunate situation if someone's having a heart attack, but let me say, interestingly enough, we also deliver babies. If you can imagine that. We provide instructions over the phone to help people guide the delivery of a baby. And so that's another element of the scope of what we provide in our 911 system. Our system responds to about 95,000 calls a year, and we transport about 65,000 patients per year. So in essence, there's about 1/3 of the patients that we go to and provide care, and there's no transportation needed, because we're not going to transport people needlessly just to have a reason to send them a bill, because our organization is designed around invoicing or billing the patient or their insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, what have you, only when we transport them. So about 1/3 of the time, we go out and we provide care, and there's no bill. Cost of providing care on scene for our entire region, and in a second, I'll break it down for you and tell you specifically what it is for Sparks. For the region, RIMSA spends about $8.6 million providing care that's either in the form of care provided without transportation or care that's provided to people who don't have an ability to pay. Because as I mentioned, everyone's going to get a response, regardless of who they are. In fiscal '25, we spent $7.6 million on new equipment. So as I indicated to you, we have no outside shareholders. Our commitment's to the community. So whenever we find ourselves with a little extra cash, we use it to replace our equipment. And I will tell you that in the last many years, we've also not been a borrower. So it's not like you look at our financials, which we supply to the District Board of Health every January, audited financials. When you look at our financials, you'll see that there's very, very little debt because we really want to pay for what we purchase. I also wanted to address an additional point that sometimes the public will ask us about, and it's why do I see an ambulance in the Maverick parking lot or in the Smith's parking lot, Rayleigh's parking lot, et cetera? And it's because our system was designed to follow people. So we use predictive analytics, which basically captures the when and where we think the next incidents are likely to come from. That's why our ambulances where they are. And I know for me personally, when I see them in such and such a place, even as the leader of the organization, it reminds me that this is an area where we expect activity. I have to be candid and tell you, long before the days of AI, we were doing AI-like things like collecting data and positioning our ambulances where people are likely to need us. Now, as I mentioned, specific to Sparks, which is, and I'm very proud to tell you this piece of information because it really shows how we are like one and the same as community members. 6,149 Sparks citizens received care on scene without charge and either received transportation to the hospital or they didn't need it. But 6,149 Sparks citizens received care from us. Of that, the value of the uncompensated care was $1.6 million. And then this next piece, I'm really proud to tell you, we have 138 RIMSA employees who reside in Sparks. They are Sparks citizens, Sparks residents. They buy their groceries in Sparks. They educate their kids in Sparks. That's a rather significant number for the size organization we have. We have a 600 employee group. I also am proud to tell you that we installed 196 car seats for babies. When it comes to car seats, I have really realized recently, because I needed to have one, I needed some help on one myself for my granddaughter. Car seats are not what they used to be. It's very difficult to install them correctly. We installed 196 car seats for Sparks residents, and it works out to be about 22% of all the car seats we installed throughout our whole system. And of course, as you know, we also provide all kinds of CPR classes as well as others. I also wanted to make an additional comment, which really kind of flowed from the previous. We, as a not-for-profit, purchase a lot of gasoline. And as a not-for-profit, we're not exempt from fuel taxes. So we pay taxes. In the course of a month, we consume about 20,000 gallons of gas. 20,000 gallons of gas. So I'm happy to tell you, we're paying our fair share of gasoline tax. And as I wrap up my comments, I just wanted to comment that we appreciate our engagement and work with the City of Sparks Fire Department. We are actively using one of those within our fleet at this very moment to cover specific areas of the community. We meet with the Sparks Fire Chief and his EMS chief on a monthly basis, looking at opportunities where we can assist each other and improve. And as I said, care begins really with the patient and patient navigation. Our desire is to provide the patient with the right paths of care every opportunity we have. And I will tell you, although I don't think he is here today, I appreciate your city manager. I enjoy working with him. He is a very smart, capable leader of the of your city administration. I meet with him regularly as well, and we will have conversations. Well, what do you think about? Well, what if this? And it's very nice and refreshing to have those kinds of conversations as we collaborate to improve the efficacy of REMSA in the community, as well as be a good partner so that we do a better job of caring for the Sparks citizens. Now, having said that, I really just have a couple more points that I wanted to make for you, and it's that, as an organization, yes, we are a not-for-profit, but we are a very, very large not-for-profit employing 600 people. One of the things that we have started in this last year is focusing on expanding and developing our philanthropic channels, because as a not-for-profit, we can take gifts. So we have been exploring that because as we look for the future, we don't know what's in front of us. And we really need to take advantage of all of the plausible avenues that might be out there to provide long-term sustainability so there's at least another 40 years in front of us. And having said that, I am happy to take any and all questions that you may have about EMS, our organization, what I think the future of EMS is, et cetera.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it. Likewise, I appreciate the partnership that REMSA has with our community. I've heard stories about before REMSA came to be about a car accident and patients laying there in their car alongside the road and fistfights between ambulance providers over who was going to get to haul them off instead of taking them to the hospital. So it's nice to see we're not there anymore. I appreciate that. Any questions from the City Council? All right, Barry, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7.5, proclamation from World Interact Week, Interact Club of Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology. I believe that's you, Member Bybee. If you would like to come down, she'll read the proclamation and then give you an opportunity to say a few things.
Okay. Whereas Interact is an international program of Rotary International that empowers young people to develop leadership skills and participate in meaningful community service. And whereas the Interact Club of the Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology is proudly sponsored by the Rotary Club of Sparks and led by the 2025-26 Board of Colton Brown, President, Maybelline Duran, Vice President, Crystal Puautu, Secretary, Analia Rodriguez, Treasurer, Marina Knight, Publicity and Social Media Chair, and Leo Ambrose, Board Member, with the support of School Advisor Nicole Larson, Rotarian Advisor Judy Clark, and Principal Jason Maddock, and strengthened by 27 dedicated members and growing who embody the values of Rotary and the school motto, "We serve, we integrate, we succeed." And whereas the club's project Reading is Our Superpower, in collaboration with Maggie Wagniski, founder and author of Grit is Our Superpower, is providing $1,400 worth of books to the Interact Club, which in turn is donating them to Washoe County School District elementary schools, where Interact members read with students and encourage the love of literacy. And whereas through Project Thank You, members honored first responders on September 11th by creating and delivering heartfelt thank you cards in appreciation of their dedication and service to keep our community safe. And whereas World Interact Week, observed November 3rd through the 9th, is a time to recognize the achievements of Interact clubs around the globe and to celebrate the positive contributions of youth leaders in building stronger and more caring communities. Therefore, on behalf of Mayor Ed Lawson, Mayor of Sparks, we hereby proclaim November 3rd through the 9th, 2025, as World Interact Week, Interact Club of Academy and Arts Careers in Technology recognition in the city of Sparks, and encourage all residents to join me in recognizing the outstanding service and leadership of the Interact Club at the Academy of Arts Careers in Technology.
And as I said, if you would please introduce yourselves, and if there's something you'd like to say, please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Colton Brown. I'm the president of the Interact Club.
My name is Maybelline Duran. I'm the vice president of the Interact Club.
And we are very honored that the city of Sparks is recognizing us. Because like it is stated, we give back to our community with one goal of community. That's why in our school motto, we represent the 3 We's. We serve, we integrate, we succeed, because it is a community effort. We also stand by the Rotary 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And also, we like to recognize that it is service above self. And without the help of our community members and our city council, this would not be possible. And we thank you guys for recognizing us for our works.
Thank you. And would you care to say anything?
I think the most important thing is what Colton said. It's always service above self, and all of our members at the AACT Interact Club are very excited to give back to the community that has watched us grow since, from the time we got here to Sparks. And we're just very excited to give back to the community. So thank you guys.
Member Bybee.
I love this. I love this. I did not know anything about this. I am totally about volunteer service. Like my whole life has been, my husband asked me when I was going to get paid for doing something, because I've just found that volunteering is something that, and I love that starting when you're young, it helps your self-esteem. It helps you understand you could make a difference because you can, and really everybody can. And really, you get more out of it, at least I do, than what I'm doing for others. So it's just a very positive circle that I love seeing in our youth. I love Rotary. Some of you from Rotary that are here, I know what Rotary does. And it is, it is service above self, and it is the projects that Rotary has done in this region around the world has made amazing changes and positive changes for our community. And I think today too, really looking at the world, just taking the time and the effort to make a difference, to spread kindness, to do positive things, because we need positive days. So thank you guys so much. I'm excited to have you here and to be able to read this proclamation. You guys are awesome.
Yes, and thank you guys. And we also just want to thank the people that help support us, because yes, as a club, we work hard, but it wouldn't be anything without our advisors, our school advisor, Miss Larson, who's here today, supporting us, and also our Rotarian advisors, Miss Paula Dolliver and Miss J.C. Clark, who really support us and make sure that we are doing the best that we can with our potentials. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would you care to say something?
Number one, thank you for having us today. I want to recognize that these kids are putting in hours and hours and hours of service. They go above and beyond, and I couldn't be prouder to have them representing our school. It's really a pleasure to work with them, so thank you for recognizing them.
Well, thank you for being here, and I just want to say to you and all the rest that are taking part in this, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's truly, you are the future of our community. Colton, you and I have had a chance to meet. It was Elks Lodge, sorry for the Rotarians here, but yeah, keep up the good work. You guys are doing wonderful things. Thank you, and if you want to step over here, we'll get a picture with Councilmember Bybee.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 8.1 under consent items. Do we have a motion or anyone want to pull a consent item? Member Rodriguez.
I move to approve consent agenda item 8.1 as submitted.
Member Abbott.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item 9.1, consideration, discussion, possible direction in the city manager, to the city manager to take any actions necessary and proper to proceed with the design and construction of the new city hall at 650 Marina Gateway Drive in Sparks, Nevada, APN 037-02073. Mr. Rundle.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Anderson. Jim Rundle, Community Services Director. Over approximately 26 years, the Sparks Redevelopment Agency has been collecting tax increment financing. This was being used to carry out a redevelopment plan that was approved in 1999. Of course, these funds cannot be diverted to address debt or expenses outside of the redevelopment agency. They can't be used for things like citywide salaries, operations, or project-related activities in the general fund. Our current city hall, including the legislative building, was constructed in 1969 to serve a population at the time of 24,000 people. Sparks has grown a little bit since then. We're approximately 115,000 people in the corporate boundaries of the city of Sparks. The current challenges with our buildings here at this location include heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. I don't know if you all remember, but this summer that thermostat was driving us crazy and it was pretty warm in here for our council meetings. We got that fixed with some duct tape and Gorilla Glue, but that's what we're using often, fixing things around our building. Our plumbing is providing us issues. We've got some water features in the attorney's office that they weren't that excited about. Our roofing has been providing us issues. Lift stations from downstairs, our electrical capacity, elevators, restrooms, and then, of course, the space limitations. This council may remember that in August, the Redevelopment Agency approved the purchase of approximately 8 acres over at Marina Gateway and Lincoln. Thank you, Team Clerk, for putting that exhibit up there. This is on the northwest corner of Marina Gateway and Lincoln. This is the site the Redevelopment Agency bought for approximately $10 million. Nevada Revised Statutes 279-486 provides that a redevelopment agency may, with the consent of the legislative body, pay all costs of construction of any building, facility, or other improvement which is publicly owned within the redevelopment area. We're here today, Mayor Pro Tem, to provide the city council the opportunity for you all to vote to direct the city manager to move forward with any actions necessary to proceed with the design and construction of a city hall at the location on the screen above. That is, again, provided in NRS. The redevelopment agency cannot direct that without the authority of the governing body, which is the city of Sparks, the city council. Mayor Pro Tem, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Do any of the council members have questions for Mr. Rundle? Just a comment. Okay.
No question, Jim. Thank you for the presentation. And I think really the biggest thing we've tried to continue with our messaging to the public of this fund being restricted, that it continues to be redevelopment dollars that come from that redevelopment district two, which is for the most part the marina. Just like we had Victorian Square was our first redevelopment district, and monies accumulated there went towards improvements in that redevelopment district. So the money that will come in to this, that is in that fund needs to be used for projects within, of which a city hall was considered when this fund was established. So that money we can't use for other operational and deficits we've been facing. We cannot shift that money into any other use. And so really what I'm excited about with a new city hall is utilizing the funds that have been collected for that purpose, and also that this property will be available, as well as municipal court, as we move forward. And when a new city hall is built, we have other properties as well that can be sold, and monies from those can be put into the general fund, can be used for the other operational needs, deficits, and challenges we face with our financial situations. So it really, I think, is a win-win on both sides, and I absolutely support this direction that we'll give today to the city manager that we're voting on today. So I appreciate.
Member Rodriguez. Okay. I do have one question. So there's a remaining balance in the fund. That money is allowed to be utilized for these expenses moving forward if this is approved today?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, there is a balance in the fund. And the interesting part of how much development we've seen at the marina, for example, since 1999, when the redevelopment area and the plan was approved, has been quite extensive. So with that increment, it continues to grow into the next, let's say 4 years or so, into 2029, and that increment will continue to come in. So additional funding will be that tax increment amount will continue to come in and add to that fund. So yes, there is a balance right now, but that balance is expected to increase quite extensively over the next few years.
All right, thank you very much. No more questions. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion. Member Bybee?
I move to direct the city manager to take any actions necessary and proper to proceed with design and construction of a new city hall at 615 Marina Gateway Drive in Sparks, Nevada, APN 037-020-73.
Member Abbott?
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Bybee, a second by Abbott, and please vote. Passes unanimously with those present. Move on to item 9.2, consideration, discussion, possible action to select a development proposal to develop affordable housing at 306 10th Street, Sparks, Nevada, APN 03-19117. From the following submissions listed in alphabetical order: Green Street Development Incorporated, Northern Nevada Community Housing, and the Reno Housing Authority. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Everyone's
Sorry.
having fun with our
Yep,
technology.
Nope, I got it.
It's old.
It's old.
And, yeah.
Well done.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. My name is Amy Jones, Housing Specialist. I am before you today to present and recommend the selection of the development proposal to develop affordable housing on 306 10th Street. The city purchased 306 10th Street on April 12th, 2024. The parcel is just under an acre in size and is predominantly developed as a parking lot. There is a vacant building located on the southern portion of the site, and it was built sometime between 1912 and 1925. The parcel is located downtown Sparks in a neighborhood consisting of single-family homes, multifamily apartment complexes, and commercial businesses. The parcel is located less than half a mile from the nearest elementary school, middle school, and high school, and is near restaurants, shopping, parks, recreation, healthcare, and less than a quarter mile from the nearest bus stop, Centennial. As you will recall, the city did acquire the property utilizing Home Means Nevada initiative funds. The city was required to enter into a grant agreement with the Nevada Housing Division to receive the HM&I funds. Included in that grant agreement was the requirement that the property must be used for the development of affordable housing, serving households earning 60% AMI and below, and the property must maintain an affordability period of a minimum of 5 years. Per council's direction, earlier this year in January, staff released an open-ended request for proposal, notifying the public of the city's desire to transfer the 306 10th Street parcel to an affordable housing developer to develop affordable housing on the site. The proposals were required to identify if the existing building would be moved, demolished, or incorporated into the project. The RFP did close on August 21st of 2025. The city received a total of 4 submissions from affordable housing developers, including Green Street Development, Harlem Congregation for Community Improvement, Northern Nevada Community Housing, and the Reno Housing Authority. Harlem Congregation for Community Improvement subsequently withdrew their application on September 5th. The remaining 3 submissions are from well-known affordable housing developers in the community that have experience developing affordable housing in Washoe County. Green Street Development is proposing to develop the Oaks at Victorian Square, and the slide does provide a conceptual rendering of the project. The project as submitted includes 40 one-bedroom units targeting seniors. All 40 units will serve households earning 50% of the area median income and below, with 10 units set aside for seniors whose income is at 30% AMI and below. Green Street states in their proposal, depending on available funding, the project could include up to 50 units. The proposal as submitted demolishes the existing building. However, the proposal does state that Green Street would research the potential options and work with community stakeholders to determine the best disposition of the building. The estimated project cost is $14.2 million, and Green Street anticipates construction would be completed in September of 2020. This slide does show a conceptual site plan for Green Street submission. The project will include a community and dining room, warming kitchen, library lounge, computer lab, business center, and a game room. The site will include secure and landscaped grounds, barbecue and picnic area, community garden, gazebo, and pet zone. Supportive services would be provided by the property management company, hosting workshops, informational sessions, one-on-one consultants, food and produce delivery, blood pressure screenings, annual flu clinics, transportation assistance, and educational series on topics such as nutrition, health, financial literacy, and computer and phone assistance. Northern Nevada Community Housing is proposing to develop rail house apartments. This slide does provide a conceptual rendering of the project. And as you can see in the rendering, they are proposing to incorporate the existing building into the. As proposed, the project includes 41 bedroom units with a veteran's preference. All 40 units will serve households earning 60% and below the area median income. The existing building will be incorporated into the project and repurposed as a community room and leasing office. The estimated project cost is approximately $6.1 million, and Northern Nevada Community Housing anticipates construction to be completed in September of 2027. This slide provides a conceptual site plan of the rail house apartments. The design of the project includes a rooftop deck to allow residents to enjoy downtown events. An elevated deck connects the community building to the residential unit. Each unit will have a private balcony or patio. The site includes a barbecue and picnic area, outdoor horseshoes. Northern Nevada Community Housing will also provide 20 hours per week of supportive services. And the Food Bank of Northern Nevada provides site-specific food access, supporting residents with fresh fruits and vegetables. This slide provides the conceptual rendering of the Reno Housing Authority's project. The project will include 2 buildings as shown on this slide. As proposed, the project includes 80 units targeting families and working individuals. The project would be developed in 2 phases, with 40 units being completed in each phase. 48 units will serve households earning 60% and below the area median income, and 32 units will serve households earning 0 to 50% of the area median income. These 32 units will have a subsidy tied to each unit, and residents will pay no more than 30% of their income toward the rent, and the RHA would pay the remaining. These units would be offered to Myra Birch Public Housing residents that are being displaced first. Should those residents refuse, then the units would be offered to new residents. The existing building will be demolished to accommodate the 80 units. The estimated project cost is $39.7 million, and the Housing Authority anticipates construction to be completed for phase 1 in late 2029 and phase 2 late 2020. This slide shows a conceptual site plan. The project will include exterior tables, benches, shade structures, walking paths, barbecue and picnic area, bicycle storage, and a playground. In addition, the site will include a shared common room and management office. Tenants will have access to the Reno Housing Authority's resident service programs, including participation in their family self-sufficiency, Start Smart, and Golden Market programs, as well as workshops covering a wide range of topics, including financial literacy, goal setting, job setting strategies, and more. The intent of the RFP was to solicit a qualified developer to design, finance, construct, own, and operate an affordable housing project on the 306 10th Street site. Each of the submissions were reviewed by a ranking committee made up of city staff. The ranking criteria included the following 4 categories: qualifications of the development personnel, organizational capacity, financial capacity, and project design. Staff have reviewed the proposals and the ranking committee's evaluations and are recommending the selection of the development proposal submitted by Northern Nevada Community Housing. Upon council selection of the affordable housing project, the next steps would include the city will enter into a development agreement with the selected developer. The city would transfer the HM&I grant agreement to the developer via an assignment and assumption agreement. The city will transfer the declaration of restricted covenants also via assignment and assumption agreement. The city will transfer the property via quitclaim deed. And these items will come back before council for approval at a later meeting. A recommended motion is listed on the screen. Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to thank the 3 developers for their submissions and their continued support to develop affordable housing in the city of Sparks. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I believe 2 of the developers are present today should you have questions.
All right. Thank you very much. And before I open up for questions, I just want to say thank you for working so hard on this. You guys did a great job. We did not make it easy on you. I know you were trying to get us to pin down a direction, but I truly appreciate the time, energy, effort that went in, as well as those that bid on the project. I want to say thank you for all these people, because this is going to make a huge difference for at least 40 different individuals and maybe even more. So thank you. I'll open it up for questions. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm just wondering, are any of these looking at putting like veterans preference on veterans housing at all?
The veteran preference is Northern Nevada Community Housing. They will have a veterans preference on this property, as they do all of their properties.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Abbott.
Was that? I couldn't find it in the packet. If it is, my bad.
Perfect.
Make it bigger for you. Ooh, yep. So it was extremely close. All of them are great.
I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just reading. I'm not that fast.
All right. Member Bybee.
I would like to echo my thanks to staff, especially for taking us down a little bit of a curvy road to get here. But at the end of the day, I really am excited that we got 3 really good proposals. And I can see, obviously, very difficult to differentiate, one on top of the other. I do really am excited about the Northern Nevada proposal for a couple reasons. The veteran preference I really like, and I know we need senior housing too, although seniors could be veterans, so you get 2 for 1 there. But the veteran preference, I think, is really important for us, because there's so many housing units that are senior, and other, obviously, all the criteria on their income, but having the veteran preference and really, at the end of the day, getting to keep a piece of history and keeping that house there that was both a positive and a huge challenge to look at maintaining, to keep that there, to the point of Christine talking from the museum's perspective, to keep that piece of history and to utilize that for very good use to services and staff and things that they will use for the property. I really support it because of that, because I was really hopeful that we could keep the house and put it to use and still have amazing 40 units of great housing on this really kind of small lot. It's only not even quite an acre. So thank you all for everybody involved in this.
Any other questions? All right, with that, I will entertain a motion.
You guys can I just add one thing? I didn't know if we were gonna have them. I didn't know if we were gonna have them say anything or not, or you guys are interested. If not, I can just say a few more words. I wasn't sure what we were doing.
We're good with just a few more words. Go ahead.
Sounds good. I'll definitely echo my colleagues of thanking staff for, I know we threw kind of a curveball with trying to, hopefully save this building. It definitely has some history. Appreciate all three of the submittals. Definitely appreciate you guys coming down here today. I also will be supporting an NCH, and I can make a motion if I'll click the button, so I'll even reserve it. As it's in my ward, but obviously saving the building is very big for me as putting on the historical hat. I'm excited to see the renderings too. I love the patio, so people can enjoy the mini. We got sunsets every day, but also the amazing concerts and the amazing other events that we have in our downtown. Also, I think you guys were also the quickest at getting some housing up. I think it was a year ahead of the other one, so I appreciate seeing that as well. And so with that, I'll read my motion. We're good to go. It's probably more than a few words. My bad.
Expected. All right, go ahead, Mr. Abbott.
After that, earning the title of politician. I move to approve the development proposal submitted by Northern Nevada Community Housing to develop affordable housing on 306 10th Street, APN 032-191-17.
All right, and Mr. Rodriguez? All right, with a motion by Member Abbott, second by Mr. Rodriguez, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Great job. Yes, I think that's worth a clap. Okay, we'll move to item 9.3, consideration, discussion, possible approval of business impact statement for proposed Sparks Fire Department inspection and operational permit fees. And Chief White and Fire Marshal Chu. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson, for the record, Walt White, Fire Chief, City of Sparks, and
Pat Chu, Fire Marshal. It's part of my speech, but it's okay. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Anderson and council member. For the record, I am Patrick Chu, the Fire Marshal for the Sparks Fire Department. The purpose of this presentation is for this City Council to recognize and approve the business impact statement letter submitted for review. In November of 2023, the fire department contacted Matrix Consulting Group to conduct a feasibility study for our Fire Prevention Bureau, known today as Community Risk Reduction Division. The final report completed in November of 2024 concluded that the report stated in order to be full cost recovery, net zero balance, our fees need to be adjusted from $90 to $235 an hour. This is solely due to inflation, nothing else. Unfortunately, a full cost study has not been done since 2001. The study took into account salaries, benefits, trainings, leaves, and all the ancillary equipment such as vehicles and equipment, office equipment, and investigation equipment. Let's see, next slide. So this is a snapshot of just one of the reports. This report was done in the fiscal year 24. So the only full year data that we had in terms of revenue was in 23, fiscal year 23. So this is what was collected from the general fund from the fiscal year 23. Now it includes business inspections, which is like your churches, your bars, and your high hazard facilities, anything that has to do with having a lot of people working at a place where there's potential hazard or places where there's evacuation needed. So if you can see this, if we were to increase that rate to what it should be, because we haven't done a study since 2001, to be net zero for our budget should have been over $600,000 should have been collected. So that's a difference of $471. Now, keep in mind, this is just strictly to balance the budget at zero for us to operate. I want to talk a little further about subsidizing our division for a long time. We'll get to that in a second. So according to the NRS 237, we did a mass distribution and sent out notices to over 6,000 businesses here in Sparks. Attached to their monthly billing notice, an information bulletin indicating that we had a workshop on June 4th of this year at the council chamber here. As you can see, we reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, Nevada State Fire Marshal's office. I was able to get a hold of their distribution list of contractors. Also was able to get a hold of the City of Reno distribution list, which is basically developers, contractors, owners, what have you. And the chief and I also attended the Associate General Contractors meeting a couple of times and made a few announcements. We have 3 people attended the workshop. Thank you, Councilman Anderson, for attending, being one of them. And I received 2 emails opposing of the rate increase. One may ask, is this a good time to raise rates? My answer to that is, when is it ever a good time to raise rates? Unfortunately, we have been subsidizing these services from the general fund for some time. I just want to reiterate, this is just strictly due to inflation, nothing more, nothing less. Staff recommend approval of the business impact statement. If council approved today, the next step would be the approval of the resolution to increase the fees. Before I open up for any questions, I would like to give thanks to 2 individuals who got me here to this finish line, and one of them is Julie Torres, and the other one is Brandon Sindel with his advice. Now I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Right, thank you, sir. Questions from the council? Mr. Abbott.
Thank you, guys. Question on just looking at the difference, just to make it, I guess, be a little bit more transparent in my eyes. The difference is $471,651. And we've been using general fund, correct, to cover that cost?
Yes.
And so I think going back in time, I think the last one was done in 2001. So we could say we've had similar numbers that we've been covering for many, many years that we've been taking out of general fund to make this balance. Correct.
Yeah, I wasn't here at that time, but that would be a good assumption. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just want to get that on record.
Member Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So going back to the slide where it says operating and target hazard inspections, so are you looking to increase just inspection fees, or are you looking at doing like plan review fees as well?
Well, those are 2 different funds. Right now, it's just a general fund, which is basically existing businesses. So anything to do with new development, that's under enterprise funds, which this has nothing to do with.
At this time.
Yeah, at this time.
Okay. And then is there any, like part of the strategic plan or anything like that? So like, I'll be very honest, I sympathize, not empathize, sympathize with where you guys are coming from. You know, you got 24 years worth of catching up to do.
Yes.
So are you guys looking at increasing rates, you know, like every few years or something like that, so that hopefully, you know, I don't plan on being here.
Yeah, that would be this time next year, we're going to come back with another resolution to have an annual increase.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Any other questions? Just a comment. Thank you for how well you reached into the community to get their opinions, concerns, thoughts. I know that I saw some of these notices go out as a business manager here locally, and I just want to say thank you. Although it's a steep increase, I believe that it's clear from the community and the lack of response. I mean, to put out 6,000 just to the businesses, not to mention all the other meetings and everything you went to, only received 2 emails objecting. I think people understand. I mean, all of those that are in business understand where their costs have gone since 2001. So thank you for what you're doing. And it's things like this that we need to be doing on a regular basis to make sure that we're not closing fire stations in the future or doing other drastic measures like that. So appreciate the work you guys did on this. And with that, I'll open it up for a motion. Mr. Rodriguez.
I move to approve the business impact statement for the proposed Sparks Fire Department inspection and operational permit fee increases.
Member Abbott.
Second.
We have a motion from Rodriguez, a second by Abbott. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item 9.4, first reading. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is the first reading of Bill number 2844 to adopt a final plan that is in substantial compliance with the approved tentative plan for the Andelin Ranch Plan Development on a 115.89 acre site generally located south of Andelin Ranch Road, east of Calypso Drive, west of Fallen Grove Lane, and north of Stonebrook Parkway, Sparks, Nevada, APNs 528-03013, 14, and 15, PCN 21-008, PD 25-003. A public hearing will be held and Bill 2844 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, November 10th, 2025 at 2 p.m. in the Sparks City Council Legislative Building. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well done, thank you. All right, we'll move on to 10, public hearing, action items unrelated to planning and zoning. Item 10.1, public hearing. Consideration, discussion, possible approval on a memorandum of understanding AC 6152 between the City of Sparks and the International Association of Firefighters Local 731 related to mandatory overtime. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Shauna Halterman, your HR Director, for the record. The MOU before you today is regarding mandatory overtime in our fire department, also known as forced overtime. And after quite a few meetings with the negotiation team with fire and the city, the MOU revision to Section 2, Article C, as drafted, was agreed upon, approved by the fire bargaining unit. And in summary, it spells out the procedures for forced overtime and limits forced overtime to one time per pay period per employee, and also 3 personal exemptions per employee each 6 months. I'd also like to thank the negotiation team for coming to agreement on this, in particular Mike Zopa for his cooperation and coordination on this. I'm open to any questions, and this is a public hearing.
Right, thank you. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, we'll open up the public hearing. And I do show that we have 2 public comments. The first is Tom Dunn.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. For the record, Tom Dunn, Vice President of the Reno Firefighters Association. I think it's important to recognize how we got here. Part of this is because of a lack of staffing and budget in the fire department for a long period of time, which ultimately led to an arbitration that Local 731 had to file against the city this past year. That was ruled in favor of Local 731, and the arbitrator's ruling was we had to come to an agreement. After several meetings at the City of Sparks, we did not come to an agreement. Through the negotiations process continued, we ultimately reached an agreement. So I'd like to thank once again Mike Sopa, and more importantly, City Manager Dion Luthan for making this possible. One of the issues that we have in the fire department, both at the City of Reno several years ago and the City of Sparks now, is because of a lack of staffing and because of lack of budget, you have a lack of manpower. And what was happening specifically at the City of Sparks was you would have a person that was hoping to go home to their family to rest, relax, recreate, whatever the case may be, and had to cancel their plans at the last minute because, sorry, the fire department needs you today, or the fire department needs you 2 days from now. That has led to an issue of hardship with our families, especially those that have divorce decrees and childcare custody arrangements with the court. And once again, we'd like to thank everybody for coming to the table and making this a positive agreement for both parties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we'll call down Mike Sopa.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. For the record, Mike Zopa, Vice President of Sparks Firefighters, Local 731. So I want to echo what Tom Dunn said about how we got to here, but also want to acknowledge that the collaboration between all parties involved in getting to this point. Although there were disagreements on how we got here, the members of Sparks Fire, Local 731, Sparks Fire Administration, and city members of city leadership members, all spent years working towards a shared goal, which is protecting the health, safety, and sustainability of those who serve the public. This MOU represents not just compromise, but a partnership. As you consider this agreement, I encourage you to remember that behind every force hire is a firefighter who is working over 100 hours per week. That is someone who hasn't seen their family during that time, hasn't had the proper rest, who's been physically and mentally tested. National studies show that firefighters are at higher risk of things such as heart disease, cancer, sleep disorders, PTSD, and even suicide. And risks are magnified when fatigue becomes stressed and becomes more chronic. Limiting force hires is not just a labor issue, it's a public safety issue. A well-rested firefighter is a safe firefighter, and that means a safer city. On behalf of our members, I want to thank the city council, the city manager, and our city department administration for recognizing and protecting our firefighters and ultimately protecting our citizens. Thank you for what you guys do.
Thank you, Mike. All right, we're going to close public hearing and bring it back to the council. Do we have any questions from the council? All right, before we take a motion, I just want to echo what you said. Thank you very much for the work on this, and I appreciate you as well. It's tough, and I wish we didn't have to utilize you all so much, but I appreciate you guys being there for our community, and I'm glad we were able to come to an agreement. Likewise, thank you, Chief White. Okay, with that being said, willing to entertain a motion. Member Rodriguez.
My button today, wow. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to approve the Memorandum of Understanding AC 6152 between the City of Sparks and the International Association of Firefighters Local 731, adding language related to mandatory overtime.
Member Bybee?
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion made by Member Rodriguez, second by Bybee. Although, geez, please vote. Passes unanimously with those present. All right, thank you very much. We'll move on. Item 11.1, we don't have any planning, zoning, public hearings, and action items. So we'll move on to public comment, the last opportunity for anyone in the public wishing to speak. And I do have a note here for Mr. Dunn.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. For the record, Tom Dunn, Vice President of Local 731. In my previous public comment, I forgot to thank the Sparks Police Department for their professionalism and care when it dealt with the death of our member, Jana Moss. Today, for the last bit of comment, I'm here to talk about SNAP benefits and how it impacts Washoe County. In the state of Nevada, $90 million a month go to SNAP benefits for members of the public. Nationally, 44% of SNAP beneficiaries are children, seniors, and veterans. Here in Nevada, 505,000 Nevada residents, or 15% of the state population, which is 1 in 6, receives SNAP benefits. More than 62% of SNAP participants are families with children. More than 31% are families with members who are older adults or disabled, and more than 41% are working families. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because when members of the public, whether it's a senior, a veteran, or a child goes hungry, it's a public health and public safety issue. When kids are hungry, they don't learn as well. When our seniors and veterans aren't fed properly, it leads to other issues to include poor health outcomes, poor housing outcomes, and more importantly, it's just an absolutely negative reflection of what we do as a society and how we take care of those that are disadvantaged and in need. As of this Friday, there will be no SNAP benefits for November for members of Washoe County. And that's going to have a massive impact on our food banks in Washoe County. It's going to have a massive impact potentially on public health, especially as we get in the cold and flu and once again, COVID season as well. So I encourage everybody, if you can, please donate to your local food bank, to your local food pantry. If your church has one, volunteer where you can to help out those in our community that are in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other public comment? All right, with that, we'll move on from public comment to announcements from the mayor, city council, and city manager. No comments? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say something on behalf of KTMB. I just want to say thanks to them. They sent over a report and they were showing just in Ward 3 that they provided 582 volunteer hours. With 189 volunteers, they collected 5,890 pounds of trash. It pulled 7,000 pounds of invasive weeds, collected sharps and tires, and that's all just along the river in Ward 3, as well as over at the marina. So I just want to say thank you to KTMB and thank you for all the volunteers that are involved. It makes a huge impact in our community, especially with our budget situation being what it is. All right, one last chance, no.
Got it.
Okay, boom.
Since the river is a part of Ward 3 and Ward 1, I also have my KTMB report on that side. So we'll just throw in, just in Ward 1 in the last quarter, we had 410 total volunteer hours. One thing I will point out, 160 of those were in-water crew working the Truckee River, which that's the most hours out of this whole list. So definitely there's some love going into the river. We had 40 volunteers, pulled 2,000 pounds of trash, 3 sharps, 1 tire, and 15 trees were wrapped, as well as 8 yards of mulch were spread. And then since I got me going, I'll add one more. We do have next Friday, we're speaking of seniors, we have our veterans, seniors and veterans, at the Senior Center. We have our Veterans Day observance on Friday, November 7th at the Richards Way Sparks Senior Center, going from 11 a.m. to 12:30 for anyone listening still wants to tune in and support, as well as all of us and any city staff wants to attend. It's open to the public.
All right, well, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to item 13, adjournment. Thank you.
We'll call today's Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting to order.
Chairperson Abbott. Agency members, Lawson is absent. Bybee.
Here.
Vanderwell is absent. Anderson.
Here.
Rodriguez. Here. Chief Legal Officer Duncan.
Here.
Assistant Chief Administrative Officer McCormick.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Perfect. We'll go item 3.1. Any public comment?
We do not.
Roger that. 4.1, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion. Agency Member Rodriguez. Thank you. Agency Member Anderson.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously with all members present. Item 5.1, consideration, discussion, possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for September 22nd, 2025. Looking for a motion. Agency Member Bybee.
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for September 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. Agency Member Rodriguez. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank Thank you. Passes unanimously with all members present. Item 6, or consent items. Looking for a motion, unless someone wants to pull one, for 6.1 and 6.2. Agency Member Anderson.
Move to accept a report of claims and bills and appropriation transfers for the period of September 10th, 2025 through October 14th, 2025.
Awesome. We have a motion, Agency Member Rodriguez. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Bless you, too. Passes unanimously with all members present. Sorry. Didn't we need you 6 point. Did you guys? We did them individually. Wasn't it? They looked like they were separated.
Yeah, we should be on 6.
All right, we're gonna go to 6.2. Looking for a motion. Agency Member Anderson.
Move to direct the Chief Administrative Officer to take any actions necessary and proper to proceed with design construction of a new city hall at 650 Marina Gateway Drive in Sparks, Nevada, APN 037-02073.
Awesome, thank you, Agency Member Rodriguez. We have a motion and a second, please vote. Turn myself off, my bad. 8.1, comments from the public. No public commenters, no public. We'll go to 8.2, announcements from the agency and Chief Administrative Officer. I see head shakes, good to go. Even if it's a flagpole. Item 9, we'll adjourn today at 4:06. Have a good one. Happy Nevada Day, too. Coming up. Yeah.